Welcome to the Playing Books Podcast. We are so incredibly glad you decided to tune in and join us today.
It's great to be here.
I was driving into the studio this morning, dealing with a bit of traffic, and I let my mind wander a bit.
Okay.
I started making a mental list of things that human beings actually want to do in life.
Yeah.
The stuff, things we genuinely look forward to with anticipation.
The fun stuff.
Yeah, like planning a vacation to somewhere tropical or sitting down to an incredible meal at a new restaurant.
Or even just, knowing you can sleep in until noon on a rainy Sunday.
Those are the highlights, the
Right.
things that make the grind worth it.
Exactly.
But then, because my brain works in mysterious ways, I started thinking about the complete opposite end of the spectrum.
Uh-oh.
The things we dread, the things we procrastinate on until the absolute last second, because the mere thought of them makes us want to crawl under a rock.
I think I know where this is going.
And honestly, I came to a conclusion. Fixing up a resume or writing one from scratch has got to be right up there with getting a root canal or, hitting yourself in the head with a hammer.
It is a universally dreaded task. I think if you polled 1,000 people, 999 would rank it right at the bottom of their list of fun activities.
Okay, the bottom of it.
It's tedious. It forces you to brag about yourself, which, feels unnatural for many of us.
So unnatural.
It requires a level of introspection most of us avoid, and frankly, it often feels like shouting into a void.
Yes, that's it exactly. You pour your heart and soul into this document, you obsess over fonts, you send it out into the digital ether, and
Silence, nothing happened.
that is the worst part, the silence. It feels like a chore that doesn't pay off.
Oh.
But here is the reality check that hit me like a ton of bricks when we started prepping for this episode of the Playing Books Podcast. And I want everyone listening to really hear this, maybe write it down, because it changes the stakes completely. The resume is likely the most financially important document you will ever own.
That is not an exaggeration in the slightest. Not at all. Think about it.
Yeah.
We spend months researching a car purchase. We read reviews, we test drive, we haggle, we obsess over buying a house or even a new laptop.
Right. Big ticket items.
But the resume, that is the engine of your entire economic life. When that document works, you work.
When it works, you work.
You have income, you have security, you have a career trajectory, you have health insurance. When it doesn't work, you don't. It is the absolute gatekeeper to your livelihood and your family's financial future.
That puts a little more pressure on getting it right, doesn't it?
A lot more.
When you frame it like that, the most financially important document you will ever own, it stops being a boring chore and starts being a critical asset management task.
That's a great way to put it.
But don't worry, because today we're going to completely change how you look at that piece of paper. We are exploring a book that has literally sold millions of copies and defined the genre of career management for decades.
A true classic.
We're talking about Martin Yate, CPC's Knock 'em Dead Resumes. A killer resume gets more job interviews.
This book is an absolute pillar of the genre for a reason, and it's not just because it has good formatting tips or a nice list of action verbs, though it has those too.
Of course.
Martin Yate doesn't just give you a template and say fill in the blanks. He fundamentally shifts the philosophy of how a candidate should view themselves in the labor market. He changes the psychology of the job search from the ground up.
And that is exactly where we're going to start this episode. We are going to turn your resume from a dry list of stuff I did back in 2018 into a high-impact sales document. So let's unpack this. The book starts with a concept that I think might make some people uncomfortable at first.
I think so.
It's a mindset shift called Me Inc.
Right. Let's dig into Me Inc., because it's foundational to everything else. Yate talks about a concept called enlightened self-interest.
Enlightened self-interest.
To understand why this is necessary, we have to look at the history of employment. If you go back to, say, the 1950s or 60s, there was this implicit contract between employer and employee.
Right, the company man.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You gave a company your loyalty, you worked there for 30 or 40 years, and in return, they gave you absolute security, steady raises, and maybe even a defined benefit pension at the end.
The Gold Watch retirement party.
Yeah.
Job for life.
That was the deal. But we all know that contract has been broken for a long, long time. It doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah, just look at the headlines any given week. Mass layoffs, corporate restructuring, the rise of the gig economy. Loyalty feels like a one-way street these days.
It often is.
You can be a loyal employee for 20 years and still get let go on a Tuesday morning because the stock price dipped 1/4 of a point.
Precisely. And in Martin Yate's CPC's Knock 'em Dead resumes, Yate isn't saying this to be cynical or to make you bitter.
He's not trying to make us angry.
No, he's saying it to be pragmatic. He argues that you must stop thinking like an employee who is dependent on a parent company and start thinking like a corporation yourself. You are Me, Inc.
Me, Incorporated.
You are a standalone financial entity that must plan, execute, and act to ensure its own economic survival. In the job market, you, the individual, are a commodity.
Okay, I want to pause on that word. Commodity.
Ah!
I can hear listeners cringing right now.
I know, it sounds cold.
It sounds so impersonal, like I'm a bushel of wheat or a barrel of crude oil or a pork belly future. It strips away the humanity, doesn't it? Isn't there a risk in viewing yourself that coldly?
It does sound cold, I admit. But it's the economic reality of the marketplace. If you are a commodity, your resume isn't just a history report or an autobiography.
It's the packaging.
It is the packaging. It's the marketing brochure. And just like any product on a shelf in a supermarket, if the packaging is confusing or boring or doesn't clearly state what the product does and why it's better than the box sitting right next to it,
The customer's going to move right past it.
we'll just grab the next one. So it's not about dehumanizing yourself. It's about empowering yourself to control how you are consumed by the market. If you don't brand yourself, the market will brand you, and you might not like the label they give you.
That is a crucial distinction. It's an act of self-preservation, really. We are moving from begging for a job to selling a premium product.
That's it. You're no longer the supplicant. You're the consultant.
So if I am the CEO of Me, Inc., who is my customer,
The employer, and this is the critical shift in perspective that Yate hammers home. He points out that every employment contract is an implicit agreement to contribute to profitability. That is it.
that's the bottom line.
That is the bottom line. Employers just want to make a buck. They hire you to help them make money, or save time. It always comes down to one of those three.
So every job, no matter how altruistic it might seem, ultimately exists to solve a problem that affects the bottom line.
Every single one.
Even if I'm a nurse or a teacher or working for a nonprofit organization.
Absolutely. A nurse solves the problem of patient health, which impacts hospital revenue and reputation. A teacher solves the problem of educating students, which is the entire business model of a school.
And a nonprofit.
Even in nonprofits, you are there to solve the problem of efficiency or fundraising or delivering services within a tight budget so the organization survives. No resume gets read, no one gets interviewed, and certainly no one gets hired unless someone somewhere has a problem they need to solve.
Pain point.
They have a pain point. Maybe their accounts are a mess. Maybe their sales are down. Maybe their IT infrastructure keeps crashing. Your job as Me, Inc. is not to tell them your life story or your hobbies.
No.
It is to prove beyond a shadow of a doubt that you are the solution to that specific problem.
I want to try something different right now. To everyone listening to this episode, I want you to take a brief second to engage with this idea. Maybe pause the audio if you are safe to do so, or just take a breath.
A little mental exercise.
Yeah. Visualize yourself not as a worker bee waiting for instructions, but as the CEO of your own career. Look at your current resume in your mind's eye. Ask yourself, are you running Me, Inc. effectively? Is your marketing material, your resume selling a premium high-value solution, or is it just listing ingredients?
That is the perfect question to frame the rest of this discussion because most people are just listing ingredients.
Guilty.
They are listing every task they've ever done, hoping the employer figures out the recipe. They say, I typed memos instead of I facilitated communication that saved the project.
They are leaving it up to the customer to figure out why they should buy the product.
And the customer is too busy to do that work for you.
Which leads us perfectly into our first major segment of the book. We need to know our customer. If we are selling a product, we need to know who is buying and what they actually want. The book calls this Target Job Deconstruction, or TJD. But before we get to the how, we have to address the what. What is the biggest mistake people make when they sit down to write a resume, specifically regarding how they present their skills?
They try to be a Swiss Army knife.
The Swiss Army knife. I love those things. They have a corkscrew, a little pair of scissors, a saw, a toothpick, a magnifying glass.
They do everything. They are incredibly versatile. But let me ask you, if you need to perform delicate eye surgery,
No.
or if you need to chop down a giant oak tree in your backyard, do you reach for a Swiss Army knife?
I certainly hope not. You'd make a terrible mess and probably hurt yourself.
No. You want a laser for the surgery. You want a chainsaw for the tree. You want a tool designed specifically, engineered precisely for that one critical task.
A specialist
A
tool.
specialist tool. Yate argues that employers are not looking for generalists who can sort of do everything. They are looking for human lasers.
Human lasers. I like that.
They have a specific pain point, say. Their accounting software is a mess, and they want a specialist to fix it. They don't want someone who can also fix the leaky faucet in the break room.
So if I have a resume that says I can do marketing and sales, and I'm also good at knitting, and I could drive a forklift, and I know how to bake sourdough bread,
Yeah.
I'm actually hurting my chances.
You are.
Because I always thought showing I was well-rounded was a good thing.
Being well-rounded is great for a dinner party. It's terrible for a specialized job search.
Yeah.
You are confusing the customer.
Okay.
Remember, the employer is always right. If they want to buy a specialized solution, you cannot sell them a general tool. You have to know what they want to buy.
So how do you do that?
If they're looking for a marketing manager, they don't care about the forklift. In fact, mentioning the forklift makes them wonder if you are truly committed to marketing. It dilutes your brand.
It makes me look unfocused.
Exactly. It makes you look like you don't know what you want to do.
Okay, so how do we figure out exactly what they want? Because sometimes job descriptions are vague, or we just assume we know what a project manager does.
That's where TJD comes in.
This is where the target job deconstruction comes in. This sounds like a CIA operation. Deconstruction.
It is a bit like an intelligence operation. It's a research project you do before you write a single word of your resume.
Before a single word.
And this is where people get lazy. They want to skip to the writing part because that feels like work. But Yate says 50% of the success is in the preparation. If you get this part wrong, the rest doesn't matter.
So walk us through the TJD process. Step 1.
Step 1 is raw data collection. You need to go out to the job boards, Indeed, LinkedIn, Monster, wherever, and collect 6 to 10 job postings for the single target job title you are pursuing.
Just one title. What if I'm open to being a project manager or a product owner or a business analyst?
Then you need to do this process 3 times. Seriously. Just focus on one title at a time. If you want to be a project manager, get 6 to 10 project manager postings.
And not just any postings, right?
Right. Find postings from companies you'd actually want to work for, companies that are leaders in your field. Download them, print them out. You need the raw data in front of you.
Okay, I have my 10 job descriptions printed out. They're spread all over my dining room table. I've got my highlighter. What am I looking for?
Steps 2 and 3 are about terminology. You are looking for the common job titles. Maybe some call it senior project lead and others project manager.
So you can title your own resume, correct?
Yes, so it aligns with the market. And you are looking for specific keywords. These are the nouns and adjectives they use over and over. Agile, Scrum, PMP certified, SaaS.
The jargon of the industry.
The language of your customer. But step 4 is where the magic happens. You are looking for commonalities in skills and responsibilities.
So I take my highlighter.
You take a different color highlighter for each job posting, and you go through and highlight every skill or responsibility. Then you look for the overlaps.
So if I see budget management or P&L responsibilities show up in all 10 job postings,
then it is critical. It is non-negotiable. That goes at the top of your resume. If a skill appears in 6 out of 6 postings, that is the core of the job. That is what the customer is buying.
and if it appears in one posting out of 10,
It's nice to have, but not essential. You are building a hierarchy of what the customer values most. You are literally creating a roadmap of the employer's mind.
this makes so much sense. We usually guess what they want. Oh, I bet they want to know I'm good at Excel.
We guess, or we project our own strengths. We think, I'm great at public speaking, so I'll put that first. But maybe the customer doesn't care about that as much as they care about your data analysis skills. This process takes the guesswork out. It turns resume writing into data analysis.
It creates an objective standard.
Exactly. But Yate goes deeper in step 5 of the TJD process in Martin Yate CPC's Knock 'em Dead resumes. He says for every requirement you identify, you have to ask yourself a deeper question.
And that question is,
What problem does this solve for the company?
can you give us a concrete example of that? Because sometimes a requirement just looks like a requirement, like must have 5 years of experience.
Okay, good one. 5 years of experience. The problem that solves for the company is risk reduction. They don't have time to train a rookie from scratch. The problem is they need someone who can hit the ground running and not make costly mistakes.
So my resume needs to show not just the 5 years, but the competence and independence that comes with it.
Yes. Or let's say the requirement is manage a team of 10. A lot of people just write managed team of 10 on their resume.
Seems logical.
But ask yourself, why does the company need someone to manage those 10 people? What is the problem they are trying to prevent?
The problem is, if they aren't managed, they might not work, or they might fight, or they might do the wrong work.
Exactly. The problem isn't just having 10 people in a room. The problem is ensuring those 10 people are productive, that conflicts are resolved, that workflows are efficient, that deadlines are met.
The problem is potential chaos.
Potential chaos, inefficiency, and wasted salary. Your resume needs to show you solve the chaos. So instead of manage team, you write streamlined workflow for 10-person team, increasing output by 20%.
Ah, you're not just stating the duty.
You are addressing the underlying problem, and you're quantifying the solution.
I love that. It's flipping the script from I did this to I solved this. Now, the book also talks about creating behavioral profiles during this TJD process. This is where things get a little creative.
This is where we get to meet two very specific characters, Carol Jenkins and Jack Hartzenberger.
Okay, tell us about Carol.
These are great mental tools Yate uses to help us visualize the tone we need to strike. He suggests you create a success profile. Think of the best person you have ever known in this role, the absolute superstar. In the book, he calls her Carol Jenkins.
Carol is the office superstar, right? The one everyone wants on their team.
She is. Think about her. She has superior communication skills. She has a fine analytical mind. She's always groomed perfectly. She anticipates problems before they happen.
The person who just gets it done.
She's pleasant to work with. She stays late if needed without complaining. By describing her, you are describing the behavioral traits the employer wants. You are building a profile of the ideal candidate. Your resume should sound like Carol.
And then there's the flip side, the failure profile.
The dreaded Jack Hartzenberger.
Describe Jack for us. I feel like I know him. I feel like I've sat next to him.
We all have. Jack is the worst person you've ever worked with. The book describes him as morose, passive-aggressive. He does the bare minimum.
Clock watcher.
A total clock watcher. He's a professional complainer. And my favorite detail from the book, he smells like he slept in his suit.
Oh, no! We have all worked with a Jack, the guy who drains the energy out of the room as soon as he walks in.
We have. And by describing Jack, his lateness, his excuses, his sloppy work, his negativity, you are identifying the behaviors you must avoid at all costs.
You're defining the anti-goal.
Exactly. You are defining what failure looks like, so you can ensure your resume signals the opposite. You want your resume to scream, Carol, not whisper Jack. Every bullet point should lean toward Carol's competence and away from Jack's incompetence.
So we have done our research. We have our stack of job postings. We know the key words. We know what Carol looks like and what Jack smells like. We have created a template for the story we need to tell.
Yes, and now we need to speak the language.
This leads us into segment 2, the secret language of job postings. I feel like this is a code-breaking session.
It kind of is.
The book identifies 6 key phrases that are in almost every single job posting, regardless of industry.
And we usually ignore them. We gloss over them as corporate speak or buzzwords. We see good communication skills and our eyes glaze over.
Team player, problem solver.
Right. But Yate argues these are the transferable skills that define professional success. They aren't filler. They are the requirement. They are the scaffolding of your career.
Let's run through them because I think listeners need to hear why these specific words matter so much. Number 1 is technical skills.
That's the baseline, the table stakes. Can you code in Python? Can you operate the forklift? Can you use the specific accounting software?
Can you draw blood if you're a phlebotomist?
Precisely. That's the barrier to entry. If you don't have this, you can't play the game. It's the what you do.
Okay, that's straightforward. Number 2, critical thinking.
This is huge, especially as you move up the ladder. It's problem solving. It's not just following orders. It's looking at a situation, analyzing the data, and finding the best path forward.
It's the how you do it.
It's the how and the why. Employers are terrified of hiring robots who can't think on their feet. They want someone who can say, wait, there's a better way to do this. That's how companies innovate.
Number 3, communication.
Which is really 3 skills in one: verbal, written, and listening. And listening is often the most overlooked part. Can you understand instructions? Can you empathize with a client? Can you write an email that doesn't cause a lawsuit? In a remote work world, written communication is more vital than ever.
So true. So much gets lost in text.
A huge amount. Your ability to be clear and concise in an email is a superpower.
Number 4, multitasking. Now, I have to stop here. I feel like multitasking has a bad rap lately. Productivity gurus always say it's impossible to do two things at once efficiently. Deep work and all that.
True. Scientifically speaking, the brain toggles. You can't truly do two cognitive tasks at once. But in the context of Martin Yate CPC's knock 'em dead resumes, multitasking doesn't mean typing an email while on a conference call.
Okay, what does it mean then?
It means time management and prioritization. It means handling a diverse workload without having a meltdown. It's about being responsive to the emergency of the moment without losing sight of the long-term goal. It's about spinning plates without dropping them.
That is a very important distinction. It's about juggling priorities, not just being busy.
Exactly. Can you handle 3 projects at once and keep them all moving forward? That's what they mean.
Got it. Number 5, teamwork.
Working for the good of the whole. Pretty self-explanatory, but essential. No one wants a lone wolf who destroys morale, no matter how brilliant they are.
Brilliant jerk.
Nobody wants to work with that person. Companies run on teams. If you can't play nice, you're a liability.
And number 6, leadership.
And Yate makes a key point here. Leadership is self-made, not born. You don't have to be a manager to show leadership.
So you don't need direct reports.
Not at all. It's about taking ownership, mentoring others, setting an example. If you are the person who organizes the office recycling program, or the one who stays late to help a new hire learn the ropes, that is a form of leadership.
Taking initiative.
Taking initiative and influencing others positively.
And there is a 7th one mentioned often in the book, creativity.
Which is seeing patterns and connecting dots. It's not just for artists or designers. An accountant finding a legal way to save tax money is being creative. A customer service rep finding a new way to soothe an angry client is being creative. It's about innovation within your role.
So when we see these words in job posting, they aren't just filler. They are the secret language.
They are the values the employer prizes. And your job is to provide evidence of these skills, not just claim them.
You can't just say, I'm a great leader.
No. You have to say, mentored 3 junior developers, resulting in a 15% improvement in their code quality. You prove it. If you can weave these concepts into your resume, you are speaking directly to the hiring manager's subconscious desire for a Carol Jenkins.
We are building the narrative now. We have the data, we have a language, but there is a warning in the book. Garbage in, garbage out.
This is a computer science principle, but it applies perfectly here.
How so?
50% of the success of your resume project is in the preparation. If you just sit down and start typing without gathering your raw materials, you will produce garbage. You'll forget your best accomplishments.
You need to gather your inventory first.
Yes. You need to mine your own life for gold. And most of us have terrible memories when put on the spot.
So true. Tell me about a time you succeeded, and my mind goes blank.
Totally blank. So the book offers a tool called the Competitive Difference Questionnaire.
What's that?
It's a series of questions designed to extract those unique details about you. It's like a guided brainstorming session. It forces you to dig deep into your past. What was a time I saved money? What was a time I handled a crisis? What was a time I turned a dissatisfied customer into a happy one?
So you do this before you even think about bullet points.
Long before. But the most practical tool for writing the actual content, the bullet points on the page, is the CR technique.
CAR. Love a good acronym. Break it down for us.
C stands for challenge. What was the problem or situation you faced? What was the context?
Okay, the setup.
A stands for action. What did you specifically do? Not we, not the team, but you. Use a strong action verb.
You have to claim the credit.
You have to. And R stands for result. How did the company benefit? And this is crucial. Quantify it whenever possible. Money saved, time saved, percentage growth. Numbers are the language of business.
The book gives a fantastic example of this that really sticks in my mind. It's a law firm archivist. Now, archiving sounds pretty dry.
It does. It sounds like a dusty basement job.
It really does. Now, imagine a resume line that just says, responsible for archives.
Boring. Tells me nothing. It just says you occupied space in a room full of boxes.
It's passive.
It says you didn't get fired. That's about it. Now, apply the CIR technique.
Okay.
Challenge. The filing system was antiquated and inefficient. Lawyers couldn't find documents, delaying cases, and frustrating clients.
That's a real business problem. Lost time is lost money.
Exactly. Action. I analyzed the need for an upgrade, researched and selected new cloud-based software, and managed the project to achieve full integration across the firm.
Okay, specific actions.
And the result. Full integration achieved 2 weeks ahead of schedule. A senior partner stated, "You brought us out of the dark ages."
That is a story. You brought us out of the dark ages.
Yeah.
That is so much more powerful than responsible for archives.
It creates a picture in the reader's mind. It shows initiative, technical skill, project management, and the approval of senior leadership. That is how you build a narrative. You are the hero of that little story.
And it appeals to the employer's need for efficiency and modernization.
It solves a problem. Every single bullet point on your resume should be a mini car story.
Okay, we have written these amazing bullet points using CR. Now we have to put it on the page. And this brings us to the scary reality of the 6-second scan.
It is a brutal reality check.
It sounds terrifying.
It is. Recruiters are overwhelmed. They might have 500 applicants for one job, and they are drinking cold coffee, they are tired, and they have a deadline. They spend, on average, about 6 seconds on their initial scan of a resume.
6 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's it. That's my whole career. There's my degree, my late nights, my hard work.
That's it for the first cut. If you haven't grabbed them by then, you are in the no pile. It's that fast. So your resume has to serve two masters. It must be database dense for the computers, the Applicant Tracking Systems, or ATS, and visually accessible for the humans.
Let's talk about the visual side first. The human side. Fonts and layout. I feel like people try to get creative here to stand out.
And it almost always backfires.
Maybe if I use pink font or a scroll background.
Don't get cute. Standard fonts. Times New Roman, Arial, maybe Calibri, something clean and readable. And please do not use a tiny font to cram everything onto one page.
Oh, I have been guilty of this. If I just lower the margins to 0.2 and make the font size 9, I can fit it all.
And you end up with a wall of text that gives the recruiter a headache.
Yeah.
They're not going to read it. Yate says form follows function. If you need 3 pages to tell the story effectively and legibly, use 3 pages.
Really? I always heard the one-page rule was sacred. If you can't fit it on one page, you aren't concise enough.
That is outdated advice from when we mailed resumes on expensive bond paper. If you are a senior professional with a lot of relevant experience, a 2- or 3-page resume is fine, provided the content is relevant. A recent grad should have 1 page. A CEO might have 3.
The key is relevance.
Relevance and readability. If it's legible and engaging, they will keep reading. If it's a microscopic block of text, they won't even start. The white space is your friend. It gives the eye a place to rest.
Let's talk structure. What goes where to survive the 6 seconds?
Contact info at the top, name, phone number, email, LinkedIn URL. But here is a tip from the book. No binkypoo@yahoo.com.
Please tell me that's a real example from Martin Yate CPC's Knock 'em Dead resumes.
It is a cautionary tale. You laugh, but people do it. Partygirl88 or Big Daddy Cool. Professional email addresses only. First name dot last name is always a safe bet.
Okay, professional email. What's next?
And replace the old objective statement, which is usually, I want a challenging job where I can grow, with a target job title headline.
What's the problem with the objective?
It's all about what you want. The employer doesn't care what you want. They care about what they need. So tell them exactly what you are. Senior sales manager, certified public accountant.
Right to the point.
Immediately followed by a performance profile.
What goes in there?
This is a high-impact summary. It's your elevator pitch. 3 to 4 lines that summarize your value. A dynamic sales manager with 10+ years of experience driving revenue growth in the competitive tech sector.
So it replaces the objective. It says, here is who I am and the value I bring.
Exactly. And then importantly for the robots, the core competencies section.
The section for the ATS.
This is purely for the ATS. It's a block of keywords, usually in columns. Remember those keywords we found in the TJD process? This is where you list them. Project management, Python, budgeting, strategic planning.
It's like SEO for your career.
It's exactly SEO for your career. It ensures the computer flags you as a match so a human actually sees it.
Now, formats. We have chronological, functional, and combination. The book seems to have a clear favorite.
It does. The chronological is the standard list jobs by date. It's what recruiters are used to. But it can highlight gaps if you are unemployed.
And the functional.
The functional groups skills together, but recruiters hate it because it looks like you are hiding something. They view it with suspicion. When did you do this? Where? It raises red flags.
So the winner is?
The combination format. It's the best of both worlds. It combines the flexibility of the functional highlighting skills up front with the credibility of the chronological. You lead with your strengths and skills in a profile section, but you still provide the timeline of employment that verifies those skills.
It gives them what they want in the order they want it.
Precisely.
There is a great case study in the book about a woman named Jatiti Mokube. I think this really illustrates the power of these changes.
It does. It's a perfect example. Chatiti was a recent computer science grad. Her before resume was generic. It listed her courses, her GPA, typical student stuff.
It was.
It was fine. It was what everyone else submits. But it wasn't getting results. It was just another piece of paper in the stack.
And then she applied the TJD process.
She deconstructed the target jobs. She realized employers weren't just looking for a student. They were looking for specific problem-solving abilities and technical proficiencies. They wanted to know if she could build an API, not what grade she got in history of computing.
So she changed her focus.
She retooled the resume to focus on those employer needs, highlighting specific projects where she solved problems using specific coding languages. She used the SAR method for her school projects. The result, immediate interviews and a job offer.
It goes back to that me, Inc. mindset. She stopped presenting herself as a student asking for a chance.
And started presenting herself as a professional offering a solution.
Exactly. She packaged her commodity effectively.
He did.
We're moving into segment 5 now, polishing the product, the do's and don'ts. This is the final check. Let's start with what to leave out. We already mentioned Binky Poo, but what else?
Photos. In most countries, especially the US, keep your photo off the resume.
Why is that? It's all over LinkedIn.
It is, but the resume is a different document. A photo introduces unconscious bias related to age, race, gender, even attractiveness. You want to be judged on your skills, not your appearance.
Okay, no photos. What about salary? I always feel like if I don't put it, they'll think I'm too expensive or not expensive enough.
Never list past salary or requirements on the resume. It's a lose-lose. It filters you out too early. If you list a number too high, they toss you. Too low, and you leave money on the table later.
So you wait.
You keep your leverage for the negotiation phase after they've already decided they want you.
And my personal pet peeve, references available upon request.
It wastes the line. It's completely unnecessary. Everyone knows references are available. It's a given. If they want them, they will ask. Use that valuable real estate for another accomplishment using the CR Hart technique.
Good. And finally, personal data. Age, marital status, religion.
Irrelevant and, in most cases, illegal for hiring decisions. Do not give them a reason to discriminate, even subconsciously. Keep it strictly professional.
So that's what we cut. What do we add to give it that extra punch? The final polish.
Action verbs. We touched on this with the Shara technique. Avoid passive language like responsible for or duties included.
They're sleep-inducing.
They are. Use strong words. Created, managed, negotiated, saved, achieved, launched, redesigned. These words imply success and ownership.
It sounds so much more dynamic. I negotiated a contract versus I was involved in contract discussions.
It's a huge difference. Also, add brand statements. These are opening and closing statements that define your value proposition. A strong summary at the top and maybe a powerful closing thought.
And don't forget, publications or speaking engagements.
Yes, if you have them. These show authority and a commitment to your field beyond the 9 to 5.
What about personal interests? I've heard mixed advice on this. Should I list that I like hiking or that I play World of Warcraft?
The rule of thumb is only if it shows character traits relevant to the job.
So how does that work?
The book mentions a study that executives who play team sports tend to earn more. Why? Because it indicates teamwork, determination, competitiveness. So, captain of the local soccer team is good.
But watching Netflix is not.
Not so much. Playing chess might show strategy. Running marathons shows discipline and perseverance. Be selective and strategic.
Laughs. Good to know. Okay, segment 6. We are launching this thing. We live in the digital age. This resume doesn't just live on paper. How does it translate to LinkedIn?
Your LinkedIn profile should mirror your resume, but it's not a direct copy-paste. It needs to be optimized for the platform.
How so?
The headline is critical. It shouldn't just be your current job title. It's a searchable field. It should contain your target job title and keywords. You have 120 characters. Use them.
So instead of manager at Acme Corp, it should be something like Senior Project Manager, PMP Certified Driving SaaS Implementations.
Exactly. You're telling both the algorithm and the human what you do.
And the headshot. We said no photos on the resume, but LinkedIn is different.
Absolutely. On LinkedIn, the photo is critical. A profile without a photo looks like a bot or a fake account. It kills your credibility. But Yate has a great line about this.
What's that?
Don't look like you are dating. Look like a professional.
So no cropping out your ex from a wedding photo where your arm is weirdly cut off.
Please no. Or a selfie from your car. Get a friend to take a photo of you against a neutral background. Professional lighting, professional dress. Look like the person they want to hire. Smile, but look competent.
And the summary section on LinkedIn. It's much bigger than the resume profile.
It is. This is where you can be a bit more personal. The resume is usually third person, implied Heisha. The LinkedIn summary can be first person. It's a conversation. I am a passionate marketer who loves solving complex problems. You can tell a bit more of your story there.
There is one tactic in the book that I found really unique. I'd never heard of it before. The business card resume.
It's a clever guerrilla marketing tactic. It's brilliant. We all have business cards, but usually they just have contact info.
Name, title, company.
Right. Yates suggests using the back of the card. Put your target job title, your performance profile, and one punchy sentence about problem solving, and a QR code or a link to your LinkedIn.
It's like a physical link to your digital Me Inc. profile. I love that.
It's memorable. If you meet someone at a networking event or even a wedding, that card tells them exactly what you do and where to find more info. It separates you from the crowd.
Finally, using the resume for internal promotions. I think people forget this. They think, my boss knows what I do. If I want a promotion, I'll just ask.
And that's a huge mistake. Never assume. Your boss has their own problems. They're busy. They might not have noticed all your accomplishments.
You have to make the case.
You have to. Using a resume internally signals seriousness. It allows you to control the narrative of your growth. It says, I am ready for the next step, and here is the evidence. It puts you on a par with external candidates who will have resumes.
It's treating your internal career move with the same professionalism as an external one.
And it forces you to articulate your own value, which is a great exercise in itself.
It's been quite a journey through the pages of Martin Yate CPC's Knock 'em Dead resumes. A killer resume gets more job interviews. We have covered the mindset shift, the research, the language, the formatting, and the launch.
It is a comprehensive system, and that is the key takeaway. It's not just about typing a document, it's about career strategy.
So to summarize the key takeaways for everyone listening, the resume is a sales tool for Me Inc. It is not a biography.
Number one, absolutely.
Number two, research that TJD process must come before writing. You have to know the customer.
If you remember nothing else, remember that.
And number three, the document must be built for both the database bots with keywords and the human beings with readability.
And ultimately, it's about empowerment. When you take control of this document, you take control of your career. You stop being a passive participant and start being the CEO.
So here is our challenge to you, the listener. We want you to take just 1 hour this week.
Just 1 hour.
You don't have to write the whole resume. Just do the target job deconstruction. Pick your dream role. Find 6 postings and find the key words. See the matrix of what the market wants.
Even if you aren't looking right now, it is an incredibly eye-opening exercise to see where your skills match up and where you might need to grow. It's research and development for Me Inc.
Absolutely. Let the ideas in this book enhance your life by creating career security. And if you want the full experience with all the templates and deep details we couldn't cover, and there are a lot, please go purchase the book.
It's worth every penny.
It is Martin Yate CPC's Knock 'em Dead resumes. A killer resume gets more job interviews.
And engage with Martin Yate on social media. He is a legend in this field and loves hearing success stories. Tell him the Playing Books podcast sent you.
Thank you so much for spending this hour with us. We know your time is valuable. That's a resource for Me Inc. right there.
It certainly is.
If you found this helpful, please subscribe, follow, and share the Playing Books podcast with anyone you know who is looking to upgrade their career.
Here is a final thought to leave you with. We talked about Me Inc. a lot, but ask yourself this. If Me Inc. was a publicly traded company and you looked at its current marketing and performance, would you buy stock in it right now?
Oof.
If the answer is maybe or no, then it's time to polish that resume and raise your value.
That is a powerful thought. Thanks for listening, and we will catch you in the next episode.